Hi everyone. All right, in our last couple of units, lessons, we've been talking about graphing equations. Today we're going to do the exact same thing. However, our equation is going to look a little different than what we've had in the past. So today we're going to be looking at equations that are missing either an x or a y value so that we can learn how to graph horizontal and vertical lines. So we will have a problem, and the problem says to graph something like y equals -3. That's it. That's all that they give you is y equals -3. So when you look at this problem, you have no mention of x. They just tell you that y is -3. So we know our ordered pair is going to be something, comma, -3. Well, because we don't know what x is, and because this equation doesn't have an x, we're going to use a 0 as a placeholder for x. So when there isn't an x, use a 0. Okay, that's really important to remember. So now we're going to look at graphing. Well, what does this graph even look like? So when we have a graph of this, we're going to, again, draw your lines just like you normally would. Oops, that you cannot see that. All right, let's pull it up. All right, so we're going to just draw out our x-axis here. So that's the y-axis, and then we're going to go on the x. So here's your x. Okay, right there. So we have an x-axis, we have our y. Now, it's telling us that x is 0. So again, we're going to start out here in the middle at 0, 0. And then it told us that we were graphing the point 0, -3 because y is -3. So I'm not going to go anywhere on the x because there is no x value. But there is a -3. So -1, -2, -3. So when it says that y is -3, I have y at -3. Now I'm going to draw a line. So this line, y is -3, is going to look like this. It is a horizontal line. Let's use a different color. So it's going to be a horizontal line that runs across, just like this. And it could go on forever right there on your grid lines. And it's horizontal because it cuts through y, and it could have the 0 at x, okay? If you drew it as a vertical, it would disappear into the y-axis. So that's why we put it at there, okay? So this line here, so this dot is 0, -3. There's no slope to it. It doesn't move up or down. The line is just one flat line, no x values, so that's why it's at 0, -3. Well, my negative sign kind of disappeared there, so let's put it there. All right. So because there were no values here to plug in for x, the line's not going to move. So now let's look at one problem that tells you to graph x equals 2. Okay, x equals 2. It is the same thing. We don't have any y values inside this equation. It tells you exactly that x is equal to 2. It says nothing about y. So because it says nothing about y, our y value will be 0. Our x value will be 2. So the ordered pair that we're going to graph is going to be 2, 0. There's no other values here for x or for y. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to graph x equals 2. So I'm going to find my number line, and I'm going to graph y equals 2. X equals 2. So here's my x-axis. Here's my numbers, 1, 2, x equals 2. Boom, there's a dot, x equals 2. But what kind of a line does x equals 2 make? Well, if I drew a horizontal line, it would not include any of the y values or show you that y is 0. So I'm going to draw my line vertically, because a vertical line shows that the y values are 0. So it's not moving anywhere on the y-axis. Instead, it's just staying right there at x. Okay, let's get you another problem to do. Oh, let's fill this in. So when there isn't a y, use a 0. All right, so now let's go ahead and look for another problem. Okay, I found one. On this problem, there's my purple. Okay, on this problem, we're gonna say graph y equals 4. So again, when there isn't an x value, we're going to use 0 in the x spot. Y is 4, so there we go. And now I'm ready to graph. There's my ordered pair. And now let's go ahead and look at this. So I have y equals 4, x is 0. So I'm going to go 0, and then I'm going to go over to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my dot is going to go right there. Okay, so it says x is nothing. So right now x is 0, but y is 4. If x was 1 and y was 4, my dot would be right there. If x was negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and my y stayed at 4, my dot would be right there. So when you connect these lines, you get a horizontal line. Because it can be any of these x values, your line is not going to move. So it becomes a horizontal line. Okay? All right, let's do one more, and then I'm going to have you graph your own. I'll do a try it, okay? So this example here, example D, says graph x equals negative 5. Okay, so graph x equals negative 5. So again, my x value is negative 5. My y value, we don't have one, so we're just going to use 0. So negative 5, 0 is my dot. So graph x equals negative 5, so I'm going to go to the line. Here's my x, and I'm going to go to negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 5. And I'm going to put my dot here. Okay? Now, let's say that they said instead of y equaling 0, y equaled 3. Well, it would still be negative 5, 3. Okay, let's say that it was y equals 5 or negative 5. But x is still negative 5, so negative 5, negative 5. We would still go over to negative 5 and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and put my dot there. So when I finally connect all these, again, these ones are vertical because your x value doesn't change. There's no y value, but your x value does not change. If the x value changed, then you would have something different. Okay, there's no slope. It's just straight up and down because your y value is 0 and your x value will never change. Okay, all right, so now it is your turn for a try it. Let's do some try it's. So your try it, let's see here. Try it number 1. Try it number 1 says, ooh, yeah, let's do this one too. Okay, so try it number 1 says that, wait, where'd it go? Okay. Y equals negative 1.5. Okay, so we're going to do a half because I want to make sure that you have a half number in your examples as well. So give that one a try. So find y equals negative 1/2 on your line. And then try it number 2 says x equals 4. Okay, so go ahead and hit pause right now so you don't hear me solving. And then when you're ready, come on back. All right, so I'm going to go back to my main line right here, my black line. It's kind of challenging to see right now. Maybe I should just do a new piece of paper. That might be better. All right, so we'll do a new graph paper, and then these ones will be our try-its. So I'll label these try-its. Okay. All right, our first one says y equals negative 1.5. So here's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Here's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. Here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Remember, you're doing the lines here, not the inside of the box. Okay, so when you're labeling on the line the best that you can. Okay, so the first one is y equals negative 1.5. So because it says it's y, I am going to go on the y-axis, and I'm going to look for, so I go nowhere on x, and I go to negative 1/2. So here, down to negative 1/2, which is right here. This line is going to be horizontal, a horizontal line, because if I were to put a value in for x anywhere along this line, the y value is not going to change. It's going to stay the same, and my line would move out. Also, we don't want it to disappear on the y-axis. All right, so there it is. It's in between negative 1 and negative 2. So I've gone to negative 1, and then I go a half more, so I'm at negative 1/2. Okay, and then the last problem says x equals 4. So again, on my line here, I'm going to go start at 0, 0. So my x, is 4. My y is nothing. So my line is going to be vertical. So I'm going to come over here. X, I'm going to go to 4. And then I am going to go nowhere on the y-axis. So because I go nowhere on the y, I stay right there. And my line is vertical, because if I were to have a y value, my x value does not change. My x value will stay the same. So there you go. So you should have one here and one there. How did you do on your triads? All right, go ahead and put at the bottom, answer your essential question. How do we graph horizontal and vertical lines? And then put your level of understanding out to the side. Where are you at? And then you can either, you can do your practice work. So thank you so much for all of your hard work today. I appreciate everything, and make it a great day.